Welcome back. I'm with CPA Michelle Staebell. Michelle, good to see you.
Good to see you, Mark.
So today we're talking about how to handle debt collectors. Lots of folks have gotten calls from debt collectors or somebody claiming to be a debt collector. How do we determine if that call is in fact legitimate?
Well, it's tricky. But let's start off with what a debt collector is. A debt collector is hired by a creditor to collect on past due debt. When a third-party debt collection agency is hired, they must identify themselves.
All right. What if they say they're from the IRS? How do we determine whether or not that, in fact, is true?
I've been getting a lot of those calls from my clients lately asking if these people are really the IRS. Well, let me tell you that the IRS will never call an individual right away if they owe debt. They will send many, many letters over months and maybe set up a time to call. So these calls out of the blue claiming they're from the IRS are usually not legitimate. Okay,
right. If you've gotten the letters, though, then maybe the call would be coming.
Correct.
What about a threatening call? You know, we hear about people being threatened or, you know, like you must make the payment immediately. Yep. How do we handle a call like that? You know, what kind of a sign is there?
Well, it's a telltale sign that something is wrong. Debt collectors, legitimate ones, are not allowed to be threatening. They're not allowed to threaten more debt that is actually owed. They're not allowed to falsely claim that an individual will be arrested or threatened to be charged with a crime. They're not allowed to do any of those things.
All right, how do we determine if we are in fact on the phone with someone who's from a legitimate collection agency? Because that's sort of at the heart of this.
Yep, it is hard to tell, but other things to look for, legitimate debt collectors are not allowed to use obscene or profane language. They're not allowed to threaten or harm a person or even a person's property, and they're not allowed to advertise that the debt is for sale. So look for those things, and if any of those are happening, it's probably not a legitimate debt collector.
Okay, let's turn the coin now and say that we have determined, we're on the phone with somebody we think is legitimate. What opportunities are out there for us in terms of help to try and sort this out?
Sure, there are a lot of organizations that are out there to help people get control of their debt. I would say be cautious and use somebody that is licensed by New York State's Department of Financial Services for sure.
Okay, so that's important. We hear about advertisements with companies that say they can help you with debt collection. How do you determine, in that case, who you should go with?
Be cautious. Look for an organization that doesn't tell people to stop paying debts. That's always a bad sign. Or avoid organizations that charge fees based on debt reduction. And avoid organizations that tell people to borrow against a house in order to pay off debt.
Okay, so red flags right there. Final thoughts on this subject?
I would say if you're going to look for an organization to help out with debt, look for a nonprofit organization, maybe an employee assistance program, and also check out a couple of them before you figure out which organization is best for you.
All right, do your diligence.
Yes.
All right, Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
Great treatment of this subject this morning. If you missed any of our conversation, we're sharing it on our site as well at rochesterfirst.com.